Hey guys, what is up? Welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be doing a wrap up for September and October. So the books that I read during September and October. Yeah, it is October 13th or November 13th when I'm filming this. So I actually have some notes because I read some of these books over a month ago and I wanted to make sure I had my notes from when I read them, and then also from Goodreads if I missed any points that I wanted to point out, because I do review most of my books. Probably about half I do write reviews for. If it wasn't that good, I'm not gonna write anything, or if it was bad, one of them I really did not like and I wrote a review for that because it was bad. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna start in the order in which I read the books. I think that makes sense to me. And yeah, let's start with September. So I actually read every book that I read in September, which was 5 books. Were all from my TBR. So they are books that I picked out in my September. These are the books I'm going to read. Also, this is obviously a different angle. It's daytime. I want to use the natural lighting, and my artificial light broke. So I'll have to fix that before I film my next in front of my bookcase video. I don't think you guys can see it in this. That's my nightstand with all of my books that I haven't read this month. I'm in a bit of a slump. Not a bit of a slump, I'm in a slump. I finished 9 books in the month of October, and I have only finished 1 so far this month. And I think it's my own fault. I didn't have a plan going into the picking out my TBR for November. And so it's just kind of backfired, and my TBR just seems really random. And I'm currently reading a book that's not even on my TBR to see if I can fix that. And the next one I read is not going to be on my TBR either. So we'll see. I may have to reread something to get back into it. But with September, so I read 5 books total. The average rating was 3.8 stars, so not the best. I rated 2 at 4.25, 2 at 4 stars, and 1 at 2.5. So the first book that I read, and this was a holdover from August, I think. I just hadn't finished it yet, but it is Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. This is the final book in the Throne of Glass series. I listened to this about half on audio, and I did half physically read it. It is just so long that it's so intimidating. So when a book is really long and intimidating, I will also get it on audio so that I just feel I don't know, I can do other things instead of just read this book. But Throne of Glass is a series that I started many years ago and then picked back up this year. I didn't read The Assassin's Blade again because I've already read that 3 times. But Throne of Glass, I read this is probably my 3rd time reading the first couple of books. And then I finally finished it out because book reading became popular, and I was oh, I've read that. But I finally finished the series. I do have 1 tab here. It is, for the moment, I won't tell you in case, I don't want to spoil it, but it is the moment. This is the only time when I cried. I'm not really a book crier. But I see people online bawling over books, and that's just really not me. But it is a moment when 2 characters reunite after many, many books, and I was oh, I love that. I rated this 4.25 stars. I liked it. I did. It wasn't a 5-star read for me because the ending, I just wish more people died. I don't know if that's the Game of Thrones person in me that just wants everyone that wasn't sad enough, I'm not enough people died at the end. But that's how I feel about the book. It definitely wrapped things up. It ended the story. It finished things off. There are still a few oh, maybe she'll write something about this in the future, but the plot is finished. Every loose end was pretty much tied up. Also the way that it came about, I kind of wish was a little bit different. I just wish more people died, let's be honest. So I don't think that's spoilery because you don't know who dies and who doesn't. But anyway, I finally finished it. Will I reread this? Oh, probably not. This was, I don't know. The ending was satisfying, but it wasn't oh, that's the ending that I like needed. You know, it was like, okay, I'm okay with it, you know? So 4.25 stars. A lot of the books I either rated 4 stars or 5 stars throughout the series. So yeah, 4.25 kind of makes sense there. The next book that I read was Mickey 7. And I was just at the movies seeing the new Venom movie, which not very good. But I saw a preview for this book. It's going to be a movie, soon to be a major motion picture. I didn't know if it was like ever happening or not, but it's actually Mickey 17 instead of Mickey 7. So this book is about a human who is like the expendable on like a terraforming trip to like check out another planet. And every time he dies, they have like a reincarnation machine. And so he gets reincarnated and he gets, well, like not reincarnated. He gets like his consciousness is uploaded into another of his own body. Like they make his own body from organic materials and it's him, but he has all of his memories except probably the moment when he died. But then he has to like watch how he died on TV, like on a thing to see like, oh, what he did wrong so he doesn't die next time. It's very odd. I love the character in this, Mickey. He is kind of a dumbass. And I appreciate that. I love reading a book where the main character is not like the best thing since sliced bread. Like they're not really a hero. They're not like somebody who like is gonna save the world. Like he's just kind of a dumbass. He does some real stupid shit, but then he also does some really smart stuff. But like maybe he just got lucky. You just don't know. Like I really like this. Robert Pattinson is gonna be Mickey in the movie. I don't know why they upped it to 17 instead of 7, but basically the book is like he's on his 7th iteration. Everyone thinks he dies. He doesn't. And then they create a Mickey 8. But Mickey 7 and Mickey 8 have to figure out like how to like live with each other because there's not supposed to be 2 of them. And it's like they don't have enough resources to have 2 people. So like one of them has to die and it's like their story of like trying to figure that out. So it's very interesting. I personally really enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure I finished it and I said like, oh, I really like that. Like I finished it and said out loud to no one, I really like that. So I really like this book. If you're like a science fiction person, definitely check this out. It's going to be a movie, which I think is fun. It's less than 300 pages. And if I saw it on like Kindle Unlimited, I would definitely read the next one. Or if I like saw it in a bookstore and like just struck my fancy, I like Mickey as a character. It's quite good. So very interesting. Oh, that almost fell. Okay, so that was the second book that I read. Next, I rated that 4 stars, by the way. It was just fun. It was a good, fun read after finishing Kingdom of Ash. The next one that I read was Someday, Someday Maybe. This is by Lauren Graham, the Gilmore Girls lady. I'm pretty sure that's why my book club picked it. So like what we've been doing is like one person picks a book and like we put it in a hat. That's what we did this month. We haven't done it since, but the month that this was picked, but it was someone's like favorite book. So we all read it. She reread it again. It was not my favorite book. I gave this 2.5 stars. My main problems with it is that I hated the ending. And I also had no idea what the main character looked like outside of she had curly hair and she wasn't Jewish. Like that's all I get from the, like, I don't know. But it's about an actress in New York and like her struggle. Like, I just don't like the ending. I didn't like the main character. I found her really annoying. And this was like kind of also like, woe is me. I am not like the prettiest, but like actually she's gorgeous kind of thing. This was written in 2013. So that trope maybe wasn't overused then, but 10 years later, it is overused. So no. That's a no for me. I gave it, I was between a 2 and 3 stars and I'm like, oh, I don't want to hurt the person's feelings whose favorite book this is by giving it 2 stars. So I gave it 3 stars and I'm like, it was somewhere in the middle there. It wasn't the worst book I've ever read, but I would not recommend it to anyone. Next, I read Belladonna, which was on my Kindle Unlimited, and I loved this book. I gave it 4.25 stars. This is by Adeline Grace. Mickey 7, by the way, I don't think I said is by Edward Ashton. I want to say like the author's name, give them credit, of course. Belladonna, so that's by Adeline Grace. The first 300 pages of this book, 5 stars. Loved it. The thing that I did not love about the book was the romance plot. Like when the two characters like finally got together, it just felt really forced and really surface level. Like there's no like deep meaning behind like them finally getting together. But I did love it because it was kind of thrillery in that I didn't guess like any of the twists and turns, and it was like a very dark fantasy book. And I really like dark fantasy, so I really liked it. But their romance was just a little off-putting to me. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just like, I don't know, it just didn't seem real to me. So while I really loved the book and the plot, the romance plot was not great. So I gave that 4.25 stars, but I really did love it. And I do have the second one, Foxglove. For some reason, I hate it when you do this, is like you read the first one on Kindle Unlimited, but none of the other books are on there. So the next book that I read was also on Kindle, and it is Crown of Blood and Ruin by L.J. Andrews. This book this is the third book in the Broken Kingdoms series. There's 9 books total, and I thought that all 9 books would be about the same couple, but it's not. The third book is the end of their story, and the fourth book picks up like a new side characters. So there were a few side characters in the fourth book, or in the third book, in this book that I read, that will be picked up and used as the main characters in the next books, which makes sense because I was like, how are they going to make this last 9 books? I don't know. They're not. It makes sense. I'm not like super eager to read the next one. It's like a thing of masks and knives or something like that. One of those like fantasy titles. I'm not like definitely ready to like read that or jump into it. Although if it gets pulled from my TBR, I will read it. The side characters were like intriguing, and I thought they were interesting characters. I really liked the story of this one too. I gave it 4 stars, I think. So it was a good finish. Like it finished off some of the plot lines that I thought were really intriguing. So I don't want to give away too much of this, but like, am I going to read the next one? Potentially. Maybe. If it works out that it comes up, I won't be mad. I'll read it, and I'll probably like it because I rated all of the books, I think, between 3 and 4 stars in the series so far. So, but I am like, oh, this is a good stopping place if I don't want to continue with this 9-book series. So I'm not like itching to read the next one, but if it like shows up on my TBR, because it is in my TBR jar, I will read it. And that was September. So like pretty like 4, most of the books were 4.25 stars, but that other book really drove down that average. Okay, and I'm pretty proud of myself for that month because I only read books that were on my TBR, like the TBR jar video that I picked out. Next is October. And I read 9 books, which is kind of crazy, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I read 9 books in October, which is a high for me. I think 8 was my previous high. So, and it makes sense why some of these, I finished. But I had 9 books, 6 were from my TBR, 3 were not. So I feel like that's a pretty good win. The average rating was 4.11 stars. And then 2 5 stars, 2 4.5 stars, 3 4 stars, 1 3.5, and 1 2.5. And that is my like kind of breakdown. Those are the stats. But so the first book was a holdover from September. It's one that I finished like on the very first day of September or of October, and it is Gone Girl. I rated this 5 stars, and I was like, am I gonna love this? Because I've already seen the movie, I already know what happens. The writing in this is just so good. I can see why they made this into a movie. And the book, like half of the book, you're like, I'm very suspicious of this person. But then the second half, you're like, oh, you like get the plot twist. So if you haven't seen the movie or like read the book, I would read the book before seeing the movie. Both are really, really good. But even though I'd seen the movie and knew what happened, I still rated this 5 stars. Like that's how good the book was. I can see how reading the book and not knowing anything about it would be so amazing, which is why I rated it 5 stars. Like if I had read this before seeing the movie or reading the book, I would want to read it again. Like it was that good. So definitely worth the hype. This is like one of the books. I have had a tendency to do this in my life, is if a movie's coming out that looks really interesting, I'll buy the book and be like, oh, I'm gonna read the book first. Never do. I sometimes see the movie, sometimes I don't, and I end up with books for movies, which, like, I have so many. But I'm really glad that I got around to reading this because it was really good. I bought this a while ago. You can see the edges are pretty yellowed. It was published in 2012. So yeah, it was really good. Love it. Highly recommend if you haven't like read or seen the movie. Even if you have seen the movie, I recommend the book. I thought it was great. Okay, next we have Trial of the Sun Queen. I gave this 5 stars as well. I loved this, and I think that this book has made me realize that I love books with games and trials. Like, that is sucking me in and like making me want to read it. This is like the Hunger Games / The Bachelor, basically. Like, there's this girl and she gets pulled from a prison that she's in. We don't know why she's in the prison. Her siblings are there too. We don't know why. You don't find out until like, I don't know, the end of the book maybe, or you kind of start to figure it out throughout the book. But basically, like, she has to compete to like be the queen, and there's like these trials that all of the contestants have to go through. It's not necessarily if you don't win you die, but sometimes people do die like going through it. So anyway, I just loved it. I loved it. I thought it was great. The main character, I liked her, but I wasn't like obsessed with her, but she wasn't annoying. And like the different characters, and you get like a random POV that turns out to be an important character later, but you're like, who is this person and why am I reading about them? So it's like kind of interesting that it all gets pulled together. But I rated this 5 stars, and then I also read the next 2 books in the series, one right after each other, like within a week. So I read Rule of the Aurora King, and I actually didn't even read this physical book because it was on Kindle Unlimited. I had already ordered it, and then I looked on KU and it was there, and I was like, oh damn. But I did order it, but I had finished it by the time it came on Kindle Unlimited. And then I read the next one, which I haven't ordered yet, but I probably will, just to like complete the set, you know, in case it's not on KU again. And that was called Fate of the Sun King. I also gave that one 4.5 stars. So 5 stars, 4.5, 4.5. Really love the series. The last book in the series comes out later this month on November 26th. It'll be delivered to me, so I will be reading it immediately. Adored this series. Like, this just got me so much nostalgic, and like someone at work read it after I said I loved it, and she did not love it. So, you know, I think it's a personal preference and maybe like how I felt at the time, but I can see myself rereading this series. I absolutely love it. Only the first book is Games and Trials. The rest is like a regular fantasy series, where you're like just trying to solve mysteries and like figure out who's a good guy, who's a bad guy. Another reason why I love this book too is because I did not know. I knew that someone was lying, but I didn't know who. Like, I kind of knew, but like, he's just acting so good. Like, you know, and you're like, who's this person? Like, everyone is so mysterious. Like, no one's like identity is like known in here. So personally, I just love that. I loved this book. I love the next one. I love the one after it. If you're looking for like a fantasy series that isn't like too serious, it has like a decent magic system, like different kingdoms have different magics. Just so good. Just so good. I want to convince everyone to read it, even though a girl, she did not like it, but she's read like so many more books than I have, so maybe that's why. But the nostalgia on this was like A+, 100. Loved it. So I read those 3. And Trial of the Sun Queen was on my TBR. The other 2 were not, because I didn't own them yet or knew they existed. Next, I read How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. This was my book club book for the month of October. And this was creepy as fuck. It was creepy. I don't read books like this. This is 1,000% out of my comfort zone. I listened to it a lot on audio because I was afraid I wouldn't like get into reading it, and I had a like 4-hour drive and then a 4-hour drive back, and I was able to finish it like within that time with reading some in the middle. And I think I finished the end like at home. Yeah, like you can see I did stuff to the pages, so I think I finished it like at home, like by reading it. But it was creepy. was really creepy. I did not know how to rate this at first, but I did end up rating it 4 stars. I don't read books like this, so I couldn't like in good conscience give it 5, but I thought it was a really good book. It's not just about like the creepy thing. Pupkin. It's like basically this haunted house, and their parents die, and these 2 siblings have to like figure out how to sell the house and what to do with it, and their relationship is really complicated, and like you just find out some real crazy shit. So I loved this. I really liked it. I would recommend it. I know a lot of people don't like Grady Hendrix. I think he's a very polarizing author, but it was really creepy. And yeah, I stayed in an Airbnb on that trip where I had to drive very far, and I was like, please have there be no dolls in this house, no dolls in this house, no dolls in this house. There weren't dolls, thank God. I was able to sleep soundly. And the first night I had to stay by myself because my friend was like, oh, I can't come till tomorrow now. And I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna stay in this Airbnb by myself. And there's a whole story that goes along with that, but I couldn't even get into the Airbnb, and I was like standing outside in the cold. Anyway. All of that to say, this was a good book. I thought it was creepy. It was exactly how it was intended to be. Everyone like in my group thought that it was really creepy, and we like drew pictures of what we thought the character Pupkin looked like. I thought he looked like Elf on the Shelf. I don't know. So if you read that, maybe you'll think of that now, but I don't know. I thought it was good. It's definitely out of my comfort zone. I'm glad I read it though, because it just like, it's just something I don't normally read or watch. I don't watch like horror films either. Although I did watch Babadook last weekend, and that creeped me out too. So yeah. Next I listened to actually the next 2. So these are the Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells. And I rated these both 5 stars. I went to Philadelphia. I live in Connecticut. So I went to Philadelphia, and that's where I listened to the creepy book. And then I had to go to Boston, and that's about 2-ish hours away. And these 2 books they're only like 150 pages, so they're very short listens. So I listened to one there and one on the way back. I listened to like, I don't know, 1.4 or 1.25, I don't know, like speed. So it was like perfect. And I thought these were really good. So these are really reminding me of Mickey 7. It's interesting that I read them in the same month, but this is like this is like a guy with a human brain, but like a robot body. And he is a security unit. So he's a sec unit, and that's what they refer to him as the book. But he is basically a robot, and because like they want the robots to have more of an instinct, they give them like human brains, but because of technology, they're able to like, you know, force them to do whatever. And they're just like, protect your owner, protect your person you're assigned to, whatever. So he like goes on this mission with all these humans to protect them, again, while they're like terraforming a planet, very similar to Mickey 7. And although they have like more communication with Earth, or it's not, Earth is long gone in this book, but yeah, so they're like, basically he's like hey, if something bad happens, you're gonna protect everyone, security unit, or like, oh, there's a big bad monster out there, please go kill it so we can research it, whatever. And so they're supposed to like be able to just command him to do whatever, and he has like a whole unit, but he actually hacked his system. So like he hacked his own like computer so that no one knows that he doesn't have to take their commands, and he can just do whatever he wants. And he like watches movies, he like watches soap operas and stuff. It's really funny. I really like the book. It was like short and sweet, and like, okay, there's a problem, and like because he had hacked his system, like he was able to help them fix it, and then, you know, they figure it out. And in the next book, he's trying to like figure out something that happened to like see, did he do it or did someone make him do it, like whatever, like he killed a bunch of people, and but like, did they make him do it or did he do it on his own? And he doesn't know, and he's like a conscious being now, so and he has to like disguise himself as like a enhanced human and whatever, and he can do that if like, because they have like, it's all human parts or whatever. But those were really good. They were really cute. I started the 3rd one as well, but I didn't realize that they were only free on Audible for a short amount of time. So I got like halfway through the 3rd one, which also was good. And just stopped listening to it because it wasn't available anymore, and I don't want to use a credit on a book that's so short. So maybe I'll pick it up again later. But the first one was called All Systems Red, and the second was Artificial Condition. I liked Artificial Condition a little bit better because he has a relationship with like a robot, with a ship, and that ship is just like such a funny character. So yeah, not a relationship, like a friendship or an acquaintance of like a ship that he like stows away on. It's just so good. I really like both of them. If you like science fiction novels, if you have read Mickey 7 and haven't read those, I would recommend them. Or if you have read like All Systems Red but not Mickey 7, vice versa. It's so funny that I read both of these books in the same month, but All Systems Red was on my TBR and Artificial Condition was not, of course, because it was a sequel. But yeah, so I finished those. I rated those both 4 stars. I felt like because they were shorter books, I can't really rate them 5 stars, but if I were to rate them all together, they'd probably be close to 5 stars. Like there wasn't anything that I was like, that doesn't make sense. Like, or I didn't like that. I felt like they were great. They were fantastic. So they might be on Kindle Unlimited as well if you don't want to listen to them. I did them just because I had drives coming up, and that's pretty much when I listen to audiobooks. Otherwise, I generally read them, unless it's like Kingdom of Ash, and I just know I can't do it. Next, second to last book that I finished in October was Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This is one that was like, I need to read that this month. I got a prompt to fit it, and Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I did not really like this. I gave it 2.5 stars. Here's the thing. Okay, so it's basically about a werewolf and a vampire who have an arranged marriage, and it's like to save their peoples or whatever. Doesn't matter. The spice in this was very confusing because I don't know how you would even explain it, but like the werewolf anatomy was very confusing to me, and it distracted me. Like I was trying to figure out what the heck they were talking about instead of thinking about the plot, which did surprise me because I couldn't think about it because I was only thinking about the werewolves ding dong. So if anyone has read this book, you will know what I mean. I cringed a lot. I thought it was really like, I just did not like it. I'm not a huge romance reader, so that is also maybe part of the problem. But like the character is just, I don't know. I also have no idea what anyone looked like in this book. Like I felt like nobody was described. The only person like I had a picture of them in my mind was like the side, her best friend, and her name was Serena, but in my mind she was Sabrina Carpenter because that's what I was associating in my mind. They didn't describe her at all like that. I think she was supposed to have like black hair. Obviously Sabrina does not, but yeah, I just did not think that this was very good. I would not recommend it. I was really disappointed because I was like, ooh, spooky season, gonna read Bride finally. I just didn't like it. It's really sad. I wish I liked it. It makes me not want to read anything Ali Hazelwood. She only writes romance pretty much, so I don't think that I would read anything from her anyway. I don't think one of these is like technically a romance. There's a lot of romantic, science fiction, thriller, and a horror. So yeah, romance is really not my like thing. I'm reading a romance right now. I like it. But that's because I'm in a slump and I'm like, okay, well maybe I really need to switch up the genres. But yeah, I'm reading Nora Goes Off Script right now, which is not on my TBR, but I'm struggling, so it's okay. But yeah, didn't like it. Okay, so we have a bit of a different angle because my iPhone storage is full and I had to go in and delete some stuff, and I'm hoping that it works and everything is moving. But quickly, Blinded by Thorns, I really liked it, rated it 3.5 stars. It wasn't like the most intriguing thing ever, but I'm like, reverse harem. I wish that was me. But anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know, what did you read in September and October? Have you read any of the books that I read? Have you not? And I hope that you guys enjoy this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Goodbye.